Today, we are diving deep into the incredible world of Malaysian folk legends. And let me tell you, these are not your average bedtime stories. We're talking about epic tales of heroes, villains, quests that seem absolutely impossible, and curses so powerful they've shaped an entire culture. I mean, have you ever heard of a curse that lasts for 7 generations? That's just a taste of the kind of high drama we're about to get into. These stories are packed with tragedy, unforgettable characters, and some serious life lessons. But first, what actually makes a story a legend? Well, in Malaysia, a legenda is this amazing blend of real history and myth. There are these traditional stories about real people, events, or places that have been passed down from one generation to the next. And here's the key part. They aren't just for fun. No, they're designed to teach us something really important about how to live. Okay, let's get our countdown started. We're kicking off with the top 10 most famous legends, starting with numbers 10 all the way through 6. These first few tales are full of some pretty intense lessons about family, love, and what happens when jealousy takes over. Kicking us off at number 10 is the tragic story of Si Tenggang. So, you've got this poor kid who leaves home, makes a fortune, and even marries a princess. But when his ship sails back to his village, he's so ashamed of his poor mother that he actually pretends he doesn't know her. Can you imagine? Well, heartbroken, she prays, and poof, just like that, Si Tenggang and his entire ship are turned to stone. Talk about a powerful reminder to never ever forget where you came from. Coming in at number 9, we meet the legendary celestial princess of Mount Ladang. The Sultan of Malacca hears about how unbelievably beautiful she is and, of course, decides he has to marry her. He even sends his best warrior, the famous Hang Tuah, to propose for him. The princess, though, yeah, she was not having it. So she came up with a list of completely impossible tasks just to get him to back off. And you have to appreciate the creativity here. Her demands were just wow. She wanted a golden bridge from his palace to her mountain, 7 trays filled with mosquito hearts, good luck with that, 7 jars of virgin's tears, and then the final, most shocking request, a bowl of the Sultan's own son's blood. The crazy thing is, the Sultan was about to do it all, but when it came to sacrificing his own child, he finally had to give up. Next up at number 8 is the deeply sad story of the devouring rock. A poor mother named Si Tanjung finally gets her hands on her absolute favorite food, mudskipper fish eggs. She saves her portion, looking forward to it, only to find out her kids ate it without a second thought. That feeling of being so completely taken for granted was just too much for her to handle. So she ran to this magical cave-like rock and just let it swallow her whole. At number 7 is maybe one of Malaysia's most famous stories of injustice, the tale of Mahasuri. She was this beautiful woman living on the island of Langkawi. While her husband was away at war, her own sister-in-law, who was just consumed by jealousy, started a rumor that Mahasuri was cheating. And the village elders actually believed it and sentenced her to death. As they were about to execute her, Mahasuri declared her innocence and laid a curse upon the entire island. And when she was stabbed, pure white blood, not red, flowed from her wound, proving she was telling the truth. But it was too late. Just as she predicted, Langkawi suffered invasions and hardship for 7 long generations. And rounding out our first 5, we have Dayang Senandong. She was a princess born under a terrible curse that gave her black skin. The royal family couldn't stand her appearance. But here's the twist. She was also blessed with the most enchanting singing voice you could ever imagine. One day, a prince sailing past heard her sing, and he felt completely in love with her voice, without ever even seeing her. All right, we have officially arrived at the top 5. These are the big ones, the legends of legends. We're talking about fanged kings, terrifying giants, and what is probably the ultimate story of loyalty and betrayal. Kicking off the top 5 is Malaysia's very own vampire king, Raja Bersiang. Now, he started out as a normal king, until one day his cook accidentally cut his finger while making the king's favorite dish. A single drop of blood fell into the gravy. The king took one bite and absolutely loved it, saying it was the best thing he'd ever tasted. So the next day, when the meal wasn't as good, he demanded to know why. The terrified cook confessed what had happened, and the king ordered him to do it again. That one little taste sparked this uncontrollable craving for human blood. He grew fangs, became a total tyrant, and earned his name, Raja Bersiang, the Fanged King. Number 4 is the story of Bawang Merah, which is a classic good versus evil tale. Think of it as a Malaysian Cinderella story. You have a kind girl, Bawang Merah, being horribly mistreated by her stepmother and stepsister. Then she finds a magical swing out in the forest. A prince sees her there, is totally captivated, exposes all the stepmother's lies, and, of course, marries Bawang Merah. A perfect fairy tale ending. Now, the legend at number 3 is about a truly scary creature named Song Kelambai. This thing was a giant, said to be so powerful that he could turn any living thing, a person, an animal, you name it, into solid stone just by shouting at them. You can find rock formations all over Malaysia that people say were his victims. The most famous story is about him cursing a whole herd of elephants that bothered him while he was fishing, turning them into the stone hills you can still see today. Our runner-up at number 2 comes from Sarawak. It's about 2 celestial princesses sent to Earth to bring peace. Puteri Santubon was a genius weaver, and Puteri Sejinjang was an expert at pounding rice. Everything was great until a handsome prince showed up, and both princesses fell for him. Their jealousy turned into a huge, violent fight, and for breaking their promise of peace, they were cursed and turned into the landmarks we know today, Mount Santubong and the islands nearby. And now we're here. The number 1 spot, Malaysia's most epic, most celebrated, and definitely most complicated legend. It's a story all about brotherhood, loyalty, justice, and just heartbreaking tragedy. I think you know what it is. Of course, I'm talking about the great Malay warrior, Hang Tuah. His story, from the time of the Malacca Sultanate, is really the pinnacle of Malaysian folklore. I mean, every Malaysian knows this tale. But the thing is, Hang Tuah wasn't alone. He was the leader of this band of 5 sworn brothers, these incredible warriors who were loyal to each other and to their sultan. But the real heart of this legend, the central conflict, is the relationship between Hang Tuah, the ultimate loyalist, and his brother Hang Jebat, who believed that justice was way more important than blind loyalty to a king. This clash is what drives the whole saga. Hang Tuah's life was a complete roller coaster. He gets framed for a crime, and the sultan sentences him to death. But the prime minister, knowing he's innocent, hides him away. Thinking Tuah is dead, his best friend Hang Jebat goes on a rampage to get revenge. The only way to stop him is for the sultan to bring Tuah back. So now Tuah has to make an impossible choice, kill his best friend to restore order. He does. He wins the duel, but it breaks him. He eventually just disappears, never to be seen again. So, after all these incredible tales of curses, giants, and heroes, you gotta ask the big question, why? Why do these stories still matter so much? Why do we keep telling them hundreds of years later? Well, the answer is that these legends are basically the cultural DNA of the nation. They give us origin stories for real places like Mount Santubong or those stone elephants. They teach us really important lessons about respecting your parents, the dangers of jealousy, and how complicated loyalty can be. But most of all, they're this timeless thread that connects all the generations through the simple, powerful act of telling a story. And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. We know these stories mix myth and fact, so it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, right? Did the legends pop up to explain things that happen in history, or did the power of these stories actually help shape history itself? It's a pretty cool question to ponder. Thanks for joining our explainer.